Now we are live. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are tuning in from. My name is Alex from breathingcoldbali.com, and I'm very excited. I'm welcoming one of the persons I admire the most. I'm really, really impressed, really loving what this man has done and how he's done it. So, welcome, Cameron Venhouse. Venhouse, do I say that right? And he's
Sure, you got it.
the founder of Retreat Guru, retreat.guru. And I've put all the links in the comments. So, how are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
good?
Yeah.
So to tell everyone a bit of context, we were scheduled for next week, and I misread the event, and I just jumped in, and he said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So Cameron, I'd like to start with just checking in with you. What is alive in you, and what's going on?
Well, it's a good question. This is right now. What's alive with me right now? Well, this is. I'm a Buddhist, and we're in the few days before the Tibetan New Year is a season of obstacles. So they say you have to double down your meditation practice during this time because it's a time for accidents and mindlessness and habitual patterns to kind of rev up. So lately I've just been working on actually practicing more.
So meditating.
Yeah, meditation is my jam. I'd say that's the I'm a yogi, but in the meditator tradition. Yeah. And you know what I've been finding is like the more I practice, the easier things are. And and I've been practicing for 20 years, but I keep forgetting this little simple piece, which is, when everything turns to kind of crap in my mind and like, oh, I get irritated by so-and-so, or I'm worried about this, or I'm nervous about that. It's often because I haven't actually been meditating. And then I go, okay, well, it's like you see a little spot that's out there on everything and you want to clean it, but it's like, no, dude, there's a spot on your contact lens. Like, whatever, just do that. So I've been really enjoying the extra focus and practice in this last few days. So I guess that's what's alive.
What I would love to talk to you about is, you have a technology that gets retreat centers to deal with retreats, and that's the core of your business. And you also have a booking website for people that organize retreat. And I can only imagine how you must have been hit by this whole pandemic. I mean, all people in the whatever industry you're in, you're most likely been hit. But in that one as well, most retreats were offline, and the whole industry has shifted to online. And I would just wonder, with your Buddhist practice and experience, whether you were able to ride that wave in a mindful way, or did you just crash and come back from it? What was your journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say yes to all the above. COVID, of course, hit us really hard. And at the same time, it was really beautiful. It hit us hard. We didn't see it coming in terms of like overnight. I remember talking to some people on Thursday night. I think something's shifting. And by Monday, everything had just shut down. And all of our customers, I mean, a large part of our business is like serving retreat centers. So then they all shut their doors, and amidst a it was a moment of real groundlessness for everybody. I'm sure for you had the same thing, right? It's just like, whoa, what do we do? And nobody knew. That's the thing. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody had lived through a global pandemic, and none of us do know what's going on right now. And I think that's been a common sort of bonding thread, is that I can look at anybody and say, you don't know, do you? And everyone's like, no, we have no clue. And it's scary, but we're together on this. And I think that's one of the blessings of it, was that we got to really connect with so many of our centers on a real deep level, because we were, it was scary, and they're still suffering greatly. And But at the same time, we slimmed down. We made the cuts to our company that we needed to survive, and which was really hard. We ended up saying goodbye to some really good friends, um, and we also did the right thing to serve our, to serve retreat centers, to serve the participants that trust us. So we definitely, we stayed. And I say our biggest accomplishment of 2021 is that we didn't die.
Yeah. You know what? As a Buddhist, I'd love, to talk about that with you, because the whole idea of meditation and mindfulness in general is to get you out of your mind, and your mind is always projecting the future or recessing the past, and we're, struggling very hard as humans to be in the present moment. And the blessing in disguise with the COVID is, like, as you said, we don't know what the future holds, and it's really tangible now. It has always been like that, but now we really feel it. So when you don't have the option of thinking about the future, you're left with the present. And don't you feel the huge blessing in disguise with this whole COVID situation? Like, another one was, okay, you're forced to stay home with your kids and with your partner. Okay, that's horrible, but maybe there is something good about it. Time to deal with the situation, and you have to wear a mask, which means you have to shut up and listen more, because it's not that easy to talk. So I wonder how you navigated all these, whether you were able to see, maybe at a personal level, see that all as a positive, or whether that was a fraction.
Well, I mean, I got lucky in that I live in a small town in British Columbia, Canada. So we didn't have a lot of people that had COVID, even though we shut down, or the town shut down really quickly. I would say, what I considered my experience in COVID compared to somebody that had a loved one be actually sick was, I had a cakewalk. It was super easy for me. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would feel like if your partner, or if your family member or your mom got sick from this, and you had to navigate that, because especially in a pandemic, I mean, you couldn't even connect with them. So just, that said, so my whole experience as whatever it was, I can imagine was so much easier than somebody's who's actually had to deal with the real virus and the implication. But that said, I found myself at home, and the first thing that I noticed was that my habits, all my bad habits, got amplified by like 3, 4, 5 times. Like, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I'll definitely have a glass of wine every night with dinner. Or, oh yeah, I'll definitely like scroll, Reddit, or get on. And it was like being a funhouse mirror, where all your normal little patterns you don't notice, but now they're 5x, and you're like, whoa, I have to deal with this. So that was you, because I got to see aspects of my mind that maybe I thought I had dealt with, or I thought I didn't. I thought I had mastered, but I hadn't. So listen, honest, say if you want to see how enlightened you are, just go home for Christmas.
Yeah.
You'll see. And at the same time, for our company, we were working like double hard. It used to be that we would, you paddle in the boat and you get to where you're going. But in this case, we were paddling like 5 times harder just to save the ship from sinking. So there was definitely a moment of feeling exhausted, but having gone nowhere. And as a matter of fact, having gone kind of backwards in a way. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm now interested in delving into your expertise, and you have, a unique position, supporting retreat centers around the world. So I'm curious to have your vision of, what's going on. How do you see, and maybe the ones that are doing okay, what are they doing? So we can maybe learn from that. What are your main lessons of the pandemic, and
Right.
on sharing that?
Well, I think a lot of retreat centers have cut costs, they've cut staff and expenses, and they've really squeezed tight enough to stay alive over the next couple of years. Some closed their doors, some are able to shift online, and some shifted online, particularly in the meditation and the breathwork and yoga space. Harder to, with plant medicine, ayahuasca and psilocybin, to go online, of course. They could do pre and post integration online, but they can't have the actual experience. So we saw a host of retreat centers. It was actually kind of funny because, the entire industry was pretty much the same for 50 years. The wellness industry, retreats, and then it was overnight, the whole retreat industry went, oh, there's an internet. Let's use it. Like, it was like shocking. It's like, whoa, we should. And they dispelled a myth, which was, one myth was that we could never do this online. We could never transmit. We could never create sacred space online. And the truth was that they just hadn't been pushed. And when they were, they realized they could. And the reason is that sacred space is everywhere. It's all sacred space, but it does need a quality of protection and container. But who knew that the Zoom and other technologies could actually provide that? So we saw a huge shift of retreat centers and teachers, kind of getting blown away and realizing, oh my God, I don't have to. I can meet all of my students in the same place, and it's carbon. It's much less carbon for the environment. No one's flying and traveling, and it was a really kind of exciting moment for the whole retreat space. But of course, then the sobering part of that is that usually for online programs, the revenue is much less because you don't have the accommodation. So it's also tougher, although they were reaching, retreat centers and teachers were reaching like audiences they'd never experienced before in terms of scale. The revenues weren't there to match. But going forward, what I'm seeing is that retreat centers have kind of a hybrid model where they're saying, okay, online is always going to be a thing, absolutely, going forward. Now that we realize there's an internet, we're going to use it. It's great. And probably it'll be to attract new audiences. We'll have freer programs. We'll have in terms of marketing, kind of top of funnel, you'll be offering like short free sessions, maybe a weekend or a 2-hour with the great speaker, and then you'll capture an email, and then you'll introduce people to a 2 or 3 day program, which then eventually will get you into an on-site retreat. That might be the traditional flow. So, and we're seeing what you do, which is this hybrid model, right? Where you can actually have people on site and online and connecting, removing borders for people to do an actual real retreat in real time, which is pretty unique. And there's a number of retreat centers that are really working to play with that model and step it up in terms of professionalism. And of course, when people started doing online, it's kind of like there's this moment where nobody knew what to do. They took the old format of let's sage on the stage, and they just did that, and it didn't work entirely well. Like they were kind of like, wait, this could be so much more interactive. You could have breakout rooms. You could do polls. You could do quick Q&A sessions. And so I started to see the more playfulness and it reminded me of the first time when websites came out. They ended up looking like brochures, because that's what we knew. We knew brochures. Everyone had a brochure. Everyone had a 3-page pamphlet. So then they did their website, and it was called kind of brochureware, right? It was, and then it evolved and like, wow, there was Flash, and you could do animation and then interaction. And I see that's what's going to happen with the online wellness. Is that at the beginning it looks like the traditional retreat, but it's going to come into its own. It's going to evolve to a place where we are like so much more vulnerable with each other in this medium, right? We're going to show up with full hearts and minds, and in ways that I can't even predict, but I just know and I trust that having tasted the sense of sacred space online, once we hit that moment, we went, oh, we found a new home. And now it'll be interesting to see how it integrates.
Yeah, fantastic. I really noticed that all in my opinion, breathwork, everyone was always saying, you need to create safety for breathwork. And for that, you need to be in person. All the big names were all saying that. And because you needed angels to come around and make sure people were taken care of, and you don't know what's going on in these sessions, and people can go far. And everyone say, you know, one of the ways you create safety is to being there. And then hit COVID. And then all of a sudden, people had to adapt, and all that went away, and says, okay, now people are empowered with their experience. And as we communicate that, people take care of themselves. And what I love about it is a few things. First, as humans, we adapt to our environment, and we need to be forced to adapt our environment to evolve. So we grow to the next level of ourselves, not because we're in our comfort zone. We don't, when you don't have a choice, okay, then all of a sudden you do it. And that brings you to the next level of yourself. And those who are able to master this adaptation and to do it, wow, they really see the expansion in themselves, in their business, in every field. And it's just, you know, applying to ourselves these things that we've, you know, we know already in theory, and we apply it sometimes in our life, that, you know, being a little bit exploring the fear and things that we are resisting and triggers and all these things. And it was a beautiful way to experience that in a way that was, you know, put up on us. So yeah, I really like that. And that idea that we, like everyone else, have limited belief. You know, this is how the world, and as much as we're teaching people how to let go of limited beliefs, that we also have limited belief, like, you know, how things should be done and what's right and wrong. And I love how everything got, you know, brought out and says, yeah, no, it's not the case. So
yeah, it reminds me, you know, when you're in the wellness space, you're still human. You know, we have limiting beliefs. That's why the wellness space exists. That's why retreats exist. It's because we do, you know, so, you know, part of me wanted to say it's ironic that the industry or the space that is into human evolution wasn't willing to evolve. But, you know, the reality is that we're all, you know, we're all stuck with our own limits. And at some point, there's that moment when we push past and you experience that fresh space. And it was really neat to see the entire wellness space kind of go, have this aha moment, you know, panic, and then this, wow, you know, so yeah.
yeah, amazing. Can you share a little bit? I know that you're a number guy, and that's one of the things I really love about you, is like duality, where you can go extremely, you know, spiritual and conceptual, but then you also have, you know, numbers. So what are the, you know, key trends that you see happening these days in the wellness industry?
Trends. Well, you know, before, you know, in terms of the online space, I mean, before COVID, we had 0.5% of people who had retreat centers that it went online. And then after COVID, it was in the 65% range. So it was just this massive. I think we're starting to see now more, definitely the online programming is way up. But we're starting to see retreat centers open their doors very, very slowly in certain locations. You know, in terms of trends, I want to say that what we're seeing more of is integration. So, you know, before, retreat centers and leaders would have these kind of like offer these kind of peak experiences, right? Where you'd go and maybe once a year you do a retreat, and then, you know, it would be you may or may not prep for it, and then you may or may not take what you took home and integrate it. But what we're seeing now is that preparation for the retreat, the actual experience, it's like the shoulders. There's the peak experience, but then there's the prep, and then there's the experience, and then there's the integration. And I'm starting to see that this is more a holistic model. Even, you know, retreat centers would often, like, you know, you'd come 1 year and then you'd wait 12 months, you'd come another year, and they wouldn't hold you in between. Maybe you'd get a few emails or a catalog, but there wouldn't be any programming for you that is connected to these two retreats, you know. And I'm starting to see that shift in the plant medicine space. That's starting to shift when people are doing preparation and integration ceremonies, you know, before and after ceremony. But we're also starting to see it shift in the in the, you know, in the holistic learning space as well. And I think that, you know, also COVID had a big piece in that, because what retreat centers realized is that they were like, oh, we have access to you back at home now. We can give you an experience. We can connect maybe 2 or 3 times a year. We can check in to see how you're doing. And I mean, that's also a revenue model, but it also keeps you top of mind, keeps that person top of mind for the retreat center. And then from a participant's point of view, it's like, thank you. Like, you know, because we kind of have this, and then we go back to the raging river of karma, that's our life, and we go back into our patterns and whatnot. And then just like at some point halfway through, we're like, life sucks. And then, you know, so we're starting to see, you know, it's very helpful for us to also just be, you know, tethered and connected back in. So that's definitely
I feel
an up and coming.
just on that, what I feel is, because the training is already online, it's easier to maintain that engagement online. But when you have the experience offline and then you ask to go online after, you know, let's say a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, I felt that I was really struggling. So I was trying to do that. So I was always doing, you know, in-person retreats. And then after that, I would put a WhatsApp group, and I would do that every month. And it's really, really hard for me to create engagement. And I talk to other retreat organizers as well. That never happens. People are enjoying the experience, but after that, it fizzled out. They go back to their life. So, you know, even when it existed, it was not something that people were necessarily embracing. And I never had engagement. And then, no matter what I tried, it never worked. And now it works. Now I have really people super engaged after the experience. And my take is because they're already in that environment, so they're used to the code, they're used to that interaction. So it's just, okay, we continue, we build a habit, and we just stay with that habit. And
Well, I
that's
think
more sustainable.
likewise, people realized they could experience sacred space online too.
Mm.
And I think that was also the flip. We experienced, not just the retreat centers experienced that it could happen, but people went, oh, like I can be sitting in my living room and be receiving teachings from Sharon Salzberg, and I can, you know, or my dishes become my own karma yoga, you know, during in the middle of the retreat, you know. So I think that once we realized that we could be at home and still have profound experiences and not travel out to the centers, then it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to tune back in. But I think it's also part of the package too. Like it's wise to say to people like, okay, the experience you're signing up for is this, and it's going to comprise of retreat here, you know, retreat here, and then all these check-in connections along the way. So people are like, oh, okay, I'm signing up for the whole thing, as opposed to like the afterthought.
And for everyone, people want connection now more than ever. So, you know, this is a huge part. You know, I lead a teacher training right now on breathwork, and I really feel that the connection part is, it's my feeling, is more appreciated than even the content part, because people know where to get the content and the knowledge. And okay, cool, that's interesting. But when it comes to, okay, now we're talking and doing real connection, people have been deprived of that for a year. And okay, it's not a hug, it's not in person, but still they are heard, they're seen, they're able to express themselves, they're able to have these one-on-one connections. And that, I feel, has more value than even before that, because that's really what people are missing.
Yeah, if you can create vulnerable space, then that is incredible to feel. And you can do it online. And you know, part of our company, we have a heart sharing circle every 2 weeks. It's an hour where people can come in, part of the team. It's opt-in, and it's kind of modeled after you work with plant medicine. There's often this like, sharing circle that goes around, like after an ayahuasca, like maybe the morning after. And so we said, let's do that at work. And what I've been blown away by is that if you start your share and you're just vulnerable, it sends this little signal to somebody listening, and they go, oh, he's showing up. oh wow. And then they go, it's safe for me to show up. And then they show up, and it can be, they're talking about, difficult situation at home, or their fear of, or their anxiety even related to work. And it's like really real. I find that vulnerability is the key. If you can, it doesn't matter the medium. If you can tick the vulnerability box, if you create that space where people show up, it's magic. I don't know, there's something about like, and you can tell when someone's hit it. They're just like, oh, okay, just now you showed up. Okay, cool. All right, you're here. You've arrived.
100%.
And you can feel it.
I call it as our shared superpower. We all have that ability to tap into that, and when it does, boom, it unlocks. It unlocks
Yeah.
it for everyone. Cameron, the audience, my audience, often are breath workers or want to be breath workers, or people that are stepping to that sphere. And I feel now the codes have been changed, and people are a bit at a loss. Okay, so now how do I go about it? What would you recommend, and how to enter this world? You enter 2021 as a new holistic practitioner. What would you be your tips?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And I guess to narrow it down more from your angle as platforms and getting out there. What do you see as the successful practitioners in 2021? What are they doing right that wasn't the case before?
Well, I mean, to be honest, Alex, I would say that often yoga practitioners, meditation, breath workers, we're the worst marketers. We're terrible. We really are. We're so heart-centered. We're just like, and we and authentic, that often our marketing game feels inauthentic because we see such crappy inauthenticity in marketing that we're like, well, marketing, that's a bad thing. I don't want to do that. But it's just skillful means. So I would say, up your marketing game, but keep your heart. Don't adopt somebody else's language. Show up, and don't be afraid. Don't when you're writing your description, don't write it like you would think you should, like you've read other things, or like you hope people are going to read it. Just write your truth. Like write your marketing copy like you're teaching your class, and just be there, show up, because people are longing for authenticity in marketing. But up your marketing game. Like, make sure you have phenomenal photos. Make sure you have really good descriptions of your retreats. Make sure that you, look at what best practices, look at what other good selling, platforms have. Like, get on Airbnb and be inspired, or go, you could jump on Retreat, or you can go, there's so many other places where you can look, where you can say, what do really, really good listings look like? But keep your heart in it, keep it authentic. That's essential. And then I would say, from the marketing perspective, it's, so much of it is really, it is marketing. I would say people underestimate the power of email. From that perspective, they're definitely bought into, to Instagram and Facebook, but email still crushes in terms of sales, in terms of actually converting. I would probably focus on putting something for free, having some online class or some piece that you can offer. What is your offering? And show up in a way that, the people are going to be magnetized that, and give it out for free. Capture an email, take that email, and start having, meaningful conversations. Don't be afraid to reach out and to connect with your audience. If you've got something, then you feel in your heart that is going to help them, offer it 100%. And don't be, I would also say, like, be less worried if you're not the best practitioner at the beginning. It's a path. You're going to develop as a human being, as much as you can. Yeah, I'm just laughing because I think there's a pack rat above me that's running around the tiles here. I don't know if you can hear that, but it comes out around 5 o'clock at night. It's terrifying.
It's a big one. It's a big one. I think last time we had a conversation, you had the owner of the space you were working from that was just stepping in, and this time you've got some kind of weird animals crawling around. But thank you. I think that's a big one, and uh, daring to market ourselves is a big one. And my take and how I solved it is to check in with myself. Where am I showing up from? Is it from the ego? What is my intention? And if my intention is impact and I feel in alignment and I say, okay, now this is my intention, then whatever comes out is fine. But if I know that I'm, being manipulative, that I've come from scarcity, it says, oh my God, no one wants me. How can I, manipulate for people to actually get into whatever I have? Then it just, the law of attraction, whatever I'm gonna project, I'm gonna receive. So if I feel, oh my God, it's not enough, no one's gonna like me, and that's the energy that I put out in my marketing, well, I'm not surprised that it's what I'm getting back. But if I come from a space, I'm not a judge. I want to give. And then that's what I receive. Then and not and most likely in ways that I don't expect. So that's also interesting. It's like once you let go of expectations, then things start to unfold and come naturally. But
You nailed it, and I want to say, then marketing becomes your practice. Right? You can look at that and say, oh, this is not different than my practice. This is because you're going to rub up against that. I love how you said that sense of, poverty mentality. I'm not worthy. And then clinging, hoping you can kind of charm your way into, and it's like, no, just like, and so then all you see is your own ego puke, and that will be there, that will show up, because that's why we're on the path. That's fine. But just like see that and go, okay, is there another way? Like, all right, maybe I'll try leading with this foot. And one thing I've noticed too in the marketing space is that just offering your teachings, just offer them for free, like as much in the written word, in the video, whatever it is, what you have to offer, shout it out at the rooftops, because people, and it can be the same message again and again, because we're forgetful. Don't think, oh, I've written on this piece and then, oh, I've already written on that, I can't say the same thing. It's like, no, if you look at any Dharma, it's just the same thing repackaged in 100 million different ways, because we're myopic and we're forgetful samsaric beings. We fall asleep. The moment we have a little epiphany, we fall right back asleep. So, keep saying the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, guys, that's a huge one, what you just said, because, some of us tend to feel that we need to hold on to our knowledge, and that's what has value. But guys, if you want access to information, I always say, I'm trained by Google and YouTube. What is the benefits on an ice bath? I can think about it. But if you go to any YouTube, you got a smart kid who's got 12 million views on a really nice. So no one will work with you solely because of your knowledge and reach out to you. And when you put yourself out there and you share all your knowledge, don't hold back all your knowledge, then people will feel your energy, will feel what you're about, like what I'm doing in this video. And then they will feel, hey, do I resonate with that human? Do I want to learn from that person? Is this someone that I want to call as a teacher? And they will vibrate and feel your vibration. And that's what they're going to align with. It says, okay. And that's why when you are authentic and yourself, you're going to attract people that want that. But when you are showing up not being yourself, then you're projecting something that is not what you're going to deliver. And then they're not going to be happy with whatever you have to offer. So it can't work anyway. So, the only way for me is to just, okay, this is me, guys. You like it? Okay, join. You don't like it? Great. I don't care, because this way. I know that whoever is going to join whatever I have to sell, it's going to be a match, and then you just show up and you make mistakes and you apologize, but you have this authentic voice. And then once you have that, you remove the huge weight of, I have to be something special.
Yeah. Don't be something special. Definitely don't.
I want to touch on something that you slide, and I want to go back to that because I've seen that over and over, and that's a tricky one these days, is to do it for free. Do it on donation. So we see either people saying, hey, join my session. And because it's online, it was, it was $100 when it was offline, but now it's online. So it's free, it's on donation. It's you have a scaling, you can pay what you can. Some people pay $5, some people pay $50. It's a tricky one to navigate, So I want to have your take on what do you see working out there, and best practices on that.
Yeah, happy to. First of all, you've got to get paid. At the end of the day, you have to get paid, and you have to get paid well, because if you're a healer, the world needs more healers, right? And we need more practitioners. And if you can manage for it to be your livelihood, then all you're going to do is end up helping more people. So definitely people always walk into the space with a sense of, in anything, whether you're in web development or you're a computer programmer, we always undervalue ourselves at the beginning. So definitely make sure that be fiscally smart about it and make sure that you can get paid. Now, that said, often there's stages of relationship, right? I might say, hi, how's it going? And we meet and we talk. And then the next day, okay, I have a dating analogy for everything. So it's okay, I get your phone number. And then it's okay. And then we'll have a drink. And then that's fine. I'll see you next week. And then it's okay, well, let's go for a longer date. And, and then eventually it's wow, that's really, so that is, relationships work that way. Friendships work that way. You see people, you say hi in the hall, it doesn't matter if it's romantic friendship or business relationships, there's always this getting to know you stage. And so the difference is that you can actually kind of pre-plan for that as in the business space. You can say, okay, somebody is going to meet me for the first time. Here's what they're going to experience. They're going to experience maybe a white paper or a video or a couple posts or this free online session. That's great. Give them that. But then plan, but then after that, I'm going to actually make sure that that some of those people move on to my next thing. And my next thing is going to be a little bit more of a deeper integration into my teachings and craft. And then what's the next move? And what's the next move? And how do people get further and further and deeper in love with you and the work that you're doing? And I think it's actually healthy. I mean, it's skillful to plan what that looks like. But then keep it real. Make sure that it's authentic on every step of the way, and that you're, if you're in the marketing space, treat your relationships, your marketing relationships, just like real relationships. You wouldn't send, a random email to a bunch of people that weren't interested in that thing. Just like you wouldn't be, someone says, hi, how are you doing? And you tell them the weather. It's I didn't ask you the weather. I'm asking how you're doing. So make sure that you just try to keep it as real as possible.
You know what? I think that you just expressed the best social media tip ever, because I think if you treat social media as a way to build connection and relationship, you win. But if you use it as a traditional media outlet where I just put marketing after marketing, then it just doesn't work. And I see really the ones that are really killing it on social media. It's really what they do. They are putting it out there. You can see that they're not always posting the photos with the right angles and telling that the life is amazing, but just showing up in their whole humanity. Yeah. And that is when people are allowing themselves to be vulnerable, and even more when they do it in a public way, then people feel they can trust that person. And then when you trust, when you are offering information, you need to trust and create safety. So that's actually a huge tip that you give away there for anyone who's working on their social media strategy, I feel.
And I feel like when you're beginning and you often feel like you need to morph into some other more successful version of you and then project from that. And you don't. You can just be you and be awkward and make mistakes and that's you, and that's fine. You don't need to be perfect. Don't be perfect. Just show up and let people know this is like, hey, it's my first time running this retreat. I'm scared, but I think it's going to be amazing. And I'm nervous, but I'm also really excited. And people will relate with that. That's that vulnerability. Again, if you can communicate that, I think people go, oh, this person's real. And we're just looking for real. You know, the whole industry, I say industry, but we're always, whether you're a human being in the wellness space or not, we're just looking for authenticity. And it's easy and terrifying to be authentic, because when you're authentic, it's vulnerable. Like you're actually, you're a bit naked. You're taking off some of your clothes. And you're saying, here I am. And at the same time, it's a very indestructible place, because when you're naked, nobody can take your clothes off. You don't have to worry about that. You're already naked. You're like, well, I've already taken them off myself. So it's like, well, here you go. Like, you know, and so there's that, there's a power, a very raw power behind that.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying all this conversation. Is there anything else that you feel like sharing with us today?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say to people that are considering, you know, similar to what I said when I gave a presentation to your last class, I was just saying, if you're considering doing this and you feel connected to this work, you should do it in whatever way that looks for you. If it's scary, lean into it. You know, there's juice there if it's scary. If it's meh, then it's meh. But if it's scary, you've got a connection. There's something there, and it's a moment of growth. So go lean into the fear, lean into the shaky, vulnerable place, because there's a movement happening right now in the world, and there's a moment where, you know, the consciousness and the evolution of consciousness, wakefulness, it comes in so many forms. It has so many lineages, but it's essential. And you know, it's radical to think, but you are a lineage holder. If you're even just getting into this, it's like there are people that have come before you that have worked very hard and passed teachings onto you, and you receiving them. It's like, it's your turn now. It's your turn to step up and lean into the scary places, and you'll be the old wise person soon enough on their way to death. We'll be passing the torch onto the young scared people, and that's how it goes.
Wow. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you for your wisdom, as always. I'm really always amazed and enjoying this conversation. Tell us a little bit what's, just to promote yourself a little bit, tell us about Retreat Guru 2.0. I know that you were, last time we spoke, you say, oh, I'm changing everything. So tell us a little bit, what's going on with Retreat Guru.
Well, you know, COVID was tough for us in that we had to kind of focus inward. But what we decided to do was rebuild a number of our products. And it's been beautiful and also kind of painful, because you're also it's like digging through, it's like therapy. You know, like, oh my God, I have to look at this. So what we're doing right now, we just rebuilt our marketplace, and we launched a new version of it in mid-November. So, and now we're just focusing on, we have a version of our software. So we have it's like a hotel booking software, but for retreat centers and teachers. It enables you to do your online booking and take payments and put people in rooms and all that stuff. And we're just launching, or we're working on building a free version. So if you're it won't be launched till probably 3 or 4 months from now. But it's designed for like, okay, I've just I want to run my first retreat, and I, you know, and I want to be able to take online registration and payment, and then auto emails and do marketing that way. You'll be able to do it for free. And what's really sweet is by using this, it connects up to your own website, so you can have beautiful like pages on your website to showcase your retreat, but it also connects into Retreat Guru Marketplace. So then we help sell your retreat for you. So I'm stoked about that, because I've been like, this is a dream come true for us. Like, you know, we started as a web development shop for Tibetan Lamas for years ago. We often said, I want to be able to give retreat centers free websites and free software. So if you're in Uganda and you're starting you want to have world-class software and not have to pay for it. We're getting really close to offering that. So I'm excited about that.
Wow, wow. And I put all the links to that and very excited and yeah, excited to share that with everyone I know who's definitely struggling with all that you described, and having one place integrating it all, I think will solve a huge pain point, because as you said, most of the people in that industry, they have no interest in it, beyond the lack of skill. They just want to be sharing, teaching, speaking, and would like to just outsource it somehow, but they're not in a place where they can afford it. So, that's very smart. Thank you for doing that.
Well, it's my pleasure. We all have our place in the puzzle piece of waking up, right?
Oh, wow. Yes, yes. So thank you so much, Cameron, for taking the time. And as for me, guys, I lead 6 weeks transformational teacher trainings. So if you're into that, go to breathingcoldvalley.com, and I do that every 4 months. So join the next one.
I can attest, having dived into one of his trainings, people are very delighted and very tickled and happy to be there. I can tell you. So,
Thank you. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, evening, night, or yeah, and I look forward to hearing your feedback, comments, anything you want. Just let us know and we'll happily answer. Bye, Cameron. Have a great day, brother.
See you, Alex. Take care.